Guys, you don't need to choose between price and quality to get an amazing and affordable shave. DollarShaveClub.com is the answer. To prove how amazing their shave really is, right now, they're going to give you your first month free to join the club. DollarShaveClub.com delivers amazing razors right to your door for a third of the price of what the greedy razor corporations charge. See why over 3 million members love Dollar Shave Club. They're so confident in the quality of all their products. Now, you can get your first month of the club for free. Just pay shipping. After that, it's just a few bucks a month. No long-term commitment, no hidden fees. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Greggy. All right, my topic. Now, my topic starts in one place, is going to go somewhere else, right?
Really?
Because, yeah.
Cool.
Oh, it was a joke.
Yeah.
Because you're saying we get off. You want to go get some more coffee?
I want you to
kind of do.
explain what a topic is before you even do this topic in
Spell it.
excruciating, minute amount of detail.
One day, Colin, you're going to see the
getting
Sandman,
coffee.
and now you have information to tell the Sandman. Do you understand that?
I want you to
That's how
pretend
much
like you're the
just told you.
Gordon Wood of podcasting and just write as much as you can about this one topic.
So at PAX,
Yes.
I was having a conversation. And what it came up, it's a two-part conversation. They might have been two separate conversations. I believe they're both at the party where I talked to a million different people. Tim, you're fact-checking all this. It looks
I'm
like
trying
you're,
to figure out
you're
how
rubbing it through
the
the
source
brain.
of this. Good. Just keep going.
We came up talking about what people want written on their tombstones. And at some point, I think I threw it out there of like, it'd be fucked up in like one of those like, $1 million butt situations, but not that much money because that isn't that big of a deal. Who the fuck cares what's written on your tombstone?
Yeah.
Would be the fact that what's written on your tombstone is whatever your pinned tweet is. And we all thought that was really funny. And I'm like, I'm going to write that down as a topic. So I wrote that down as a topic. And then I went through our pinned tweets, and none of them are that good. Ours are all self-promotionally, right? Mine right now is no hashtag PS I love you XOXO because Wednesday, and I run through what's happening for PlayStation meeting. Colin's is episode 2 of hashtag Ask Colin Anything is here. Please enjoy and keep the questions.
Ask Colin Anything.
Is that what I said?
No, that's what I say.
Oh, okay.
It bothers Kevin.
Oh, hashtag? Yeah, that's not real. That's not a real hashtag. Keep the questions coming. Oh, and you're welcome. And then Tim's is follow me. Your Instagram, Tim Gettys. Your Vine, Tim Gettys. Your Periscope, Tim Gettys. Your Snapchat, Tim
Everyone
Gettys.
at Tim Gettys.
Everywhere.
Simple.
And so I was like, okay, maybe it's just us. I went to Kevin's pin tweet. No, there's none. Went to Nick's. No, there's no pin tweet. Use your microphone. Use your big boy voice if you're gonna get in here.
For a while, the pin tweet was the one to Patrick Stewart.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. That's cute. Then I was like, all right, maybe it's just that we're not that creative. Went to a whole bunch of our friends, your Kevin Smiths, your other directors, our industry friends. Not many people putting stuff up. So I went to Mike Drucker. Mike Drucker's was good. It's the pin tweet joke. I wish I could get bitten by a radioactive, confident person. That's funny. That'd be a good thing to have.
Very accurate
That'd be
for
a good
his.
Mike Drucker tombstone, right?
Yeah.
And then I went to Danny O'Dwyer's, and his is just a picture of him outside the White House drinking a Taco Bell cup that says, live the VIP life. Also, that'd be a good photo for your tombstone.
Or just live the VIP life. I think it's a good.
No, he has to have the photo.
I don't know.
I'm telling you as the man who...
Can you? How do you do? You mean like what on
They
this?
etch it in.
Like the
Yeah, they
etching?
etch it in.
Holy shit.
That'd be cool, right?
Okay.
So then I was
So
like,
does mine get mine? Mine has a vine in it of the fat Pikachu stuffing himself through the door.
we don't have that kind of tombstone technology.
By the time I die, do you expect that we will?
That's a great point, actually. I do think, we'll have video tombstones by then. Don't you, Colin?
Maybe can we have like one of those?
Probably.
Are they lithograms? Where like
Hologram?
If you look at
yeah.
it from the different perspectives, it does that thing.
Sure. Now, here's what's interesting. I did all this research, and I was like, man, this is a shitty topic. Won't do this one. But then it reminded me of a similar conversation I was having, and I don't think it was with the same person again. But basically, this person was saying, I wish I spoke like Mark Twain. I wish I said stuff that was quotable, and you would remember it, and people would say it, and all these different things. You remember this?
I now remember the conversations. It's irrelevant to this conversation. But
Thank you
yes.
very much. To which I remember thinking, but I think I was getting out of the conversation. I didn't bring it up. I wonder if those people still exist, but it's like everything else. There's too much content. Just like so many people come up to us and they're like, man, I'm a big fan of Kind of Funny. I'm weeks behind on the shows, though. I haven't seen this or I haven't seen that. Or like, I really loved you guys. I got a lot of this the next day. Hey, you were great on the Let's Play panel last night. I'm going to check you guys out, but I don't know when I'll fit you in all this different stuff. In the same way, does our access to information and our access to quotes and our the ability that maybe Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of those guys who should be quotable and you should remember forever and ever. But the fact that he has a Twitter and he's in a video and he's on CNN and he's doing this thing and he's in fucking Batman v Superman, is it the amount of content getting put out that's watering down the pool, you think. And that's the reason that Mark Twain is so remembered is because his library of work is so much smaller. That is my question.
Yes. The two most quotable people in American history are Ben Franklin and Mark Twain.
Kanye West. And
Kanye West. And they both existed in a time when a lot of people couldn't even read. And then even less so Mark Twain's time than Ben Franklin's time, but there was an illiterate part of the population. And then people read newspapers or had books like Poor Richard's Almanac and stuff like that. And Ben Franklin even ghost wrote stuff or like Silence Do Good and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So I really do think it's an Mark Twain. It was Ben Franklin's like a legend. In his time, Ben Franklin was a fucking legendary man, like a Renaissance man. Him and Thomas Jefferson both.
We should have listened to him about the turkey.
We should have. The turkey should have been the national bird, which would have been awesome. So I just think that like he had incredible reverence. Like we have no Americans except for maybe Lincoln and maybe to a degree FDR, but much lesser degree than the way people felt about literally 20 people that were alive at the same time.
Sure, like Churchill.
Well, Churchill in Britain, but I'm saying Americans in.
Oh, I thought you were saying the way we only thought about these couple people that way, the way the rest of the world thought about these other people.
No. I'm saying that like in America, like Franklin resonated with people long before he was a founder because he was, but his lasting reverence was because he was indeed like a founder and an elite diplomat of the cause. And then I think Twain was, Twain, is all, I mean, everyone loves Mark Twain, but I feel like that's another thing. If Mark Twain existed today, Mark Twain probably wouldn't even really be fully an author. He'd probably do podcasts and. Mark Twain was just smart, right? He was a man of his time. So I think that like we would have just consumed him in a different way, but I think he would have been overshadowed by everything else. That's why, I was reading about the moon landings this weekend and we were talking about them in the car last week. And, 500 million people in 1969 watched the moon landing live. And with the exception of like the Super Bowl and a few other things, like you're never going to have that kind of engagement. In fact, if we went back to the moon or we went to Mars, I bet you the number of people watching it would be about equivalent compared to the global population is today or whatever.
Sure. Wait, did you watch the documentary that's on Netflix right now about that?
No, we were talking about it. That's why I just started reading. I was just in bed and I was reading
it's an older documentary. I think it was made in like 2007 or 9, but it's a Ron Howard documentary about literally just chronicles those years where between the time that Kennedy was like, hey, by the end of the decade.
From Earth to the Moon? No, that was dramatization, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was a series. This was, I forget what it's called. I'll look it up in a second. But it was really cool because they just talked to all the surviving astronauts. And they were like, what, tell us. It's basically just about that first landing.
Yeah.
And like the events that led up to it, and then a few of the events that led to, another attempt at like, and they like, it doesn't really focus on Apollo 13, anything like that. It's just about the Apollo 11 mission. It's really good.
Because, we don't want to hear about the losers.
We can't even get there.
I mean, they made it
flew right by it. They did go there and they did figure
flew right by it.
They actually flew around it, and if they flew right by, they'd still be flying to this day. So thank God they didn't fly right by it. Apollo 13 is fascinating just because they fixed that ship with the shit they had on.
No, I love Apollo 13. I'm just fucking
no, it's okay. You don't like space. It's fine.
I like
so
Jim
what
Lovell.
I would challenge
I like Jim Lovell.
What I would challenge people with the conventional wisdom about, if we still have a Ben Franklin today and we still have a Mark Twain today, then like all you have to do is name them, and you can't. And I'm not saying you. I'm just saying someone's out there like, of course, and I'm like, no, you just can't. Like,
and that's the thing. They exist, right? Great. Do you think
those kinds of minds exist, but not to the extent that,
of course,
the mid to late 19th century people held Twain and into the 20th century, and the way 18th century people felt about Franklin.
100%.
No way.
He just said all the good stuff first.
There's that for sure. There's something to be said for that. But I think the fact that do you think that there's more great minds like them too, and that's the other reason that that nobody stands out?
Yeah, there's more. The dissemination of that kind of stuff is important. There's definitely great minds, way more than there were back then.
Brock Lesnar.
Brock Lesnar is definitely up there with his terrible chest tattoo.
His one mistake.
But I can't stop staring at that tattoo.
It's terrible.
But to me, I feel like there are greater minds out there in the world.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Nobel Prize winners, great scientists, great historians, great philosophers, and stuff like that. But because I don't think we have an intellectual curiosity the way they used to, because that's all they had back in the day, like to entertain themselves. And I think there's one part of that as well. I mean, imagine a world where like you got your newspaper, your evening newspaper. It's 1780, right? You have you get home from work. You have your evening newspaper. You're eating dinner with your family. Let's say you live the middle class didn't exist then, but you have a couple kids. You live a comfortable life. You're
got some candles.
Yeah, you're a tradesman of some sort, so you have like a somewhat comfortable life. You get home, you light some candles, your kids go to bed, after doing probably their home tutoring or whatever, you're sitting there with your wife, you have a fucking newspaper. Whatever books you have are there. The nearest neighbor's a half a mile away.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
it's fucking dark out, and you have nothing except for to read and a talk, and that's it. So of course someone like Ben Franklin's going to fucking resonate.
Yeah.
Of course Mark Twain later on in a pretty much identical situation is going to resonate. You know, today it's like, no, you listen to the radio, you can listen to music at your computer. When it was nighttime until a few hundred years ago, everyone went to bed. You know, like
You're not going to see. There's no iPad to keep you going. Nothing to
I
watch.
go to bed at night.
No,
It's
you
silly.
hate that. Tim, does this matter? Does this scare you? Or does this
No, I mean, because I think that there's more people doing things that of at least great quality.
Yeah.
Which means we don't need people doing things at, perfect quality, right? Where it's like, I feel like things of this type matter a lot more when you get a lot of 9 out of 10s and like a lot of 9 out of 10s instead of 2 10 out of 10s.
Sure.
And I do think that it's almost at that level. Like just even thinking about this, it's like, what quotes are that important? You know what I mean? When you think about like any of them, right? And then who can we attribute them to? And I feel like there's some quotes that I know, like just in my head thinking, what are the best quotes or what quotes do people always repeat? I don't know who said a lot of them. You know what I mean? Like the dance like nobody's watching thing. What's that?
That was Jesus. That's from the Bible.
Jesus himself.
Yeah, he was like water, wine, boom, everybody dance.
that was in
Footloose.
Letters to the Corinthians,
Footloose, yeah.
I believe.
Corinthians
Dance
9.
like no one is watching.
nobody is
Love
watching.
like you've never been hurt.
I mean, I feel like a lot of that nowadays comes to like poetry stuff, right? Where it is people that are trying to be very flowery with their words. You know what I mean? They're
Sure.
like trying to very concisely say something very meaningful and very broad. And I think that is a bit more niche, So it's like
Sure.
those aren't as like
I mean,
widespread.
that's totally the thing too. I think when you talk about artists to an extent, when you talk about writers to an extent, when you're talking, you know what I mean, and poets for sure. Like, I mean, Maya Angelou, right, is like our national treasure. But it's like, who else? And then you're in school and you feel like when I was in school, you're reading all this poetry that is so much older, right, and is from a different time.
Yeah.
There's just such an influx of content. You know what I mean? Where there's got to be people writing better plays right now than Shakespeare, but you never hear about them.
Dude.
Yeah.
But that was the thing, was that Shakespeare. Well, first of all, Shakespeare is fucking awesome. Shakespeare is fucking ubiquitously awesome. It's awesome stuff. But and a little known fact, I don't know if I ever really talked about it. I starred in I didn't star, but I acted in a couple of Shakespeare plays.
Who were you in? What play?
Hamlet. I was in Hamlet,
Who were
and
you?
I was
You the Skull?
King Claudius. I think was Hamlet, right? He was a character in Hamlet, right? Because I was in Hamlet, and I was in, I want to say Richard III. Or something like that. I took this in 6th grade. I just had to do. I don't know. I don't even know how the fuck I ended up in these things. It was fun though.
At one point, I think I did a scene from Midsummer Night's Dream, and I think I was. I think if I remember correctly, I wasn't Nick Bottom, but I wanted to be because I was like Natch,
Nick,
and I like bottoms.
Yeah, there you go.
Made no sense.
I did, what was it, 12th night? 12th night?
12th Night.
12th night? Yeah. I did something in that. And I had to do that, the love soliloquy. And I had to memorize that. Beautiful
Classic.
writing. Like that's the type of stuff where it's like, I think that there are a lot of people doing that nowadays. It's just, and I'm not in school now, so I don't really know what they're teaching the kids. But for me, it was Maya Angelou and Shakespeare and all this stuff. But I'm sure that there is a lot of people that look at like Tupac, for example, and like things that he said. I guarantee there's classes dissecting the lyrics of those songs and stuff like that. And I think that, what is the difference there? I think it's all very contextual of what they're talking about applies to the experiences that they had. But it's the ones that stand above that you can kind of take something from and apply it to others. And that's why Shakespeare, I think, is so, you look at The Lion King, it's just Hamlet, but with a different coat of paint. But that's why it's so important.
Right?
Is that
I didn't know that either.
Is that those
Blew my
things?
Who was
they're-
Timon and Pumbaa in
Timon and Pumbaa?
Yeah, who were they in Hamlet?
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, probably. Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
That's genius.
So-
I did not even put that together until right now.
But yeah, I mean,
Fucking Disney. Ripping
right,
shit
no,
off.
Fucking have an original idea, you pieces of shit.
But I think that that's the thing is like though it's those core ideas that are why what we're talking about is that right is that thing that you can take and apply whether it's 2016 or 1016. It's still there's something there.
But to that point too, there could be no Shakespeare today. Like Shakespeare was a product, a highly illiterate fucking society at that time that saw these plays and word of mouth like went through, and like no one even. There were people that weren't contemporary to Shakespeare, never heard of him, that eventually heard of him generations later, and people are finding like original things that he wrote and all this kind of stuff years later, and that all existed because of that zeitgeist at the time that like people went to plays and they were like and it was just a slow burn, kind of like VR is going to be, I think.
But VR
but there
is
could be no Shakespeare today, because it would be like, think about like the great plays today or the last 20 years. Like The Producers is a great example, right? Like everyone loves Mel Brooks, right? Like Mel Brooks is fucking awesome. He's the man. Yeah. But even The Producers' dominance, and it's one of the most dominant plays in Broadway history, like is nowhere near like the level of like what Shakespeare was all about for hundreds of years. So like even at that zeitgeist, or like it's funny to say, but even like Cats in the 80s or something, or Rent and like all these things in the 90s, and
sure.
And Hamilton is a good example. No one's going to talk. I'm telling you right now, no one's going to talk about Hamilton in 2 years. But if something like and Hamilton's awesome, by the way. Like I know it is. I know people love it. I'm not trying to talk shit about it. I listen to a few of the songs, and it's great. The point is that there is too much competition, because Shakespeare was all that those people had. Like what else were they going to like? What else were they going to do? Like I don't know. Definitely. I just feel like these are all products, things these share, the products of simpler times that have passed the test of time. But for every poet or whatever we talk about, like Edgar Allan Poe or an Alexander Pope from those times, there are a million that we don't talk about too that were probably important at that time. So you even have to pass through that granular kind of sieve of history to and there's only a few left, and I don't think that we're gonna have much of those from today.
But I think now it's like you look at movies and stuff like that, and I think movies are the thing that are finally kind of getting to that point where it's like you say there can't be a Shakespeare. It's like, all right, well, there can be a James Cameron, or there can be a George Lucas, and all that stuff, where it's like talking about quotes, do or do not, there is no try. That is one of those examples of things where it's like we see it as pop culture, but I guess back then Shakespeare was pop culture, right?
Yeah, in a way. Yeah.
So I think that like that's the type of thing that generations from now people can take that and make The Lion King out of it.
My dude Lawrence Kasdan.